So first off, thanks for everyone for joining today. Today we're going to be doing just a little couple slides. I just got two or three I'm going to use to set the stage, and then I'm going to jump right into doing the demo here. And it's a great product to kind of just show off instead of hitting you with a bunch of PowerPoints. But with me today is one of my colleagues, Chris Russo. So let's get started here. Just a couple quick slides here to get started, and then I'm going to get right into the demo. But for those maybe the first time seeing ServiceNow and their security operations module, a lot of times people say, well, Pat, where does ServiceNow fit in the mix of things in regards to security? Could have protection technologies in house today, protecting you from threats, whether that's an antivirus tool, maybe a firewall tool, maybe a Palo Alto for a firewall, etc. Tools today that are doing detections of threats and vulnerabilities. And then also tools in-house today that is correlating all of the data that's being received and making intelligent decisions based off of that, to be able to view all that data. So where does ServiceNow fit in this scheme? And the answer to this is the response. The response process. How do we respond to, a threat or a vulnerability in an automated manner? I always like to kind of ask to kind of get everyone thinking here on today's call, if there was a security related incident or event, or maybe a vulnerability even inside of your environment, how do you go about addressing that? Someone's like, hey, a couple machines got infected. What's going on? Are you walking down the hall, talking to some colleagues? Are you popping up a couple different tools, exporting to Excel? Are you picking up the phone and calling some colleagues or walking their cubes, or maybe shooting email? So based on your answer here, I'm going to skip the slide here, but based on your answer here, the majority of customers today are in this manual mode of responding to a security incident. This maturity level slide here that you see was made by ServiceNow, and it kind of puts an organization on the different levels of maturity. So in the very beginning, 0, it's a security related incident. Maybe that's an Excel document, right? Picking up the phone, calling people, getting other tools, and running reports, etc. Very manual. The first level here of maturity here, being able to, bring data inside of the ServiceNow platform. I skipped over this slide previously, but I'll bring it back open. There exist a lot of different vendors today that can integrate and feed data and alerts and events into the ServiceNow platform. And when you start doing so and start bringing in that type of data, you can set values and priorities. Some incidents are going to be more important to others based on, that machine or devices or maybe even users' role to the business. So we can prioritize based on information that you'd have inside the ServiceNow platform. And then the end game here, levels 3 and 4, this is why automating that, automating the response process and having ServiceNow talk to a number of different security tools that you may have in place today. All these vendors are very strong with integrations and APIs that are available. And instead of doing something manually, well, we could start working faster and be able to automate some of this stuff if you wanted to. So that's it for slides. This is the last one I'm going to show you. And I want to show you today's demo. I'm going to be showing you a phishing type email. Okay. So in this example, what I have in my environment, I got ServiceNow instance, and my instance is going to be running on London. Okay. So I am on the London release. I have what's called a mid server running in my environment. And then I also have Exchange 2016. What I'm going to be showing you is I've got a device here that received a malicious email, and I'm going to simulate. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and send it to email that I called fish at itspartnersdemo.com. And when it receives that, it's going to send it up to ServiceNow, and ServiceNow is going to extract that email and parse it and give me some intelligence about the particular email in question. And then I'm going to show you how we can then go about in responding to something malicious or a phishing type activity that maybe came in through an email, right? Something that got through the cracks of other tools that you guys could have in place today. At the very end of this, in the London release came a new interface that's available for the ServiceNow console. So we're going to be able to walk through that. It's available in the London release. And at the very end, when I finish demoing this, I will show you what that new look's going to look like. Don't have to use it, but I think it's rather slick and gives you a lot of the information that you would want at your fingertips. All right. Well, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this demo. So first step here, I've got an email that was malicious here. So it came in through this particular email here, P. McPherson, that's me, a little test domain that I have. Which of these do you think I should pursue? So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to forward this email to an email account that I called Fish. And essentially what's happening is then that's going to forward it to my ServiceNow instance. Okay, and you're going to see how this all works. But here as an example, I'm going to say, hey, I clicked a bunch of the links in this email, and now my computer is freaking out. Whoops, help if I could spell. Help. All right, so let me go ahead and send that. So at that point, go back to this screen here. Phishing, potential came in here. The end user forwarded it on to ServiceNow. Okay, so in this example again, Exchange 2016. This is a canned workflow. I haven't done any customizations to it at all, and I'll be walking through this process here. Yeah, in the next little bit here. It's going to take probably about a minute or so for that to go ahead and get populated inside of ServiceNow. So let me go ahead. I'm going to pop open my console as I get started here. Let's look at my calendar. December 6th. This week is flying by. This month is flying by. Oh. Okay, so for those who are maybe new to ServiceNow, on the top left here is what's called the filter navigator. So in this demo, I'm going to be working with security incidents. So tickets that would come in from my source. In this example, that's what I've done is I've forwarded an email that a user wants some help and they think they got phished or they click some links they shouldn't have. So I've got security incidents here, show all incidents, and I'm going to sort it here by the created date. So I'll be able to see the latest ticket that was created. And it takes about a minute here for this to get populated. So instead of me sitting here a minute no longer waiting for it to go, I'm going to go ahead and click on a ticket I had done just before this webinar started. So first off, when you look at this form, okay, or a ticket I should say, and it is a form. So there's a lot of information here. And for those that are maybe new with ServiceNow on today, just know that you may be looking at this and say, hey, you know what, this is maybe too much information that I would want. Just know that this can be configured. And that's the key word, configured, not customized. So you could add in additional attributes or remove things that maybe you don't want insight into to simplify your screen. You have lots of options here. So in my example, user one, yeah, that was my little test account, user one. So that's what it flagged it as the affected user here. So user one was affected. And then here, I actually had populated the location that came in through my Active Directory. So I said, hey, user one, they're located in China. And you will notice here what says category, phishing. Yeah, so essentially what I said is if you receive an email from that phishing email, yeah, that's going to be the category of phishing. And I have a workflow that has been assigned to this category that I'm now going to take automated manners, to address this particular incident. Okay. So let me go ahead. I'm going to start scrolling down and show you some of this. So here you're going to start seeing the description. Email body. I clicked a bunch of these URLs and my computer is freaking out now. And so that's what ServiceNow did. It went ahead, it got the email and it parsed it. And now me as a security analyst, I can start looking through, to kind of see what the source of that email was and what the content was on that particular, email in particular. So I'm going to scroll down And actually, I want to take a second to explain some of these other things here where it says activities. We have a whole bunch of stuff that we are doing once we received this particular email. The ServiceNow platform is going out and it's checking to see, hey, are these websites, are they malicious? And I'm querying virus total, I'm querying TrueStar, and we're going to have a webinar in the future, going into that more in depth with some of the threat analysis scanners that you can have this tool interact with. So just note, when you're looking at this, a lot of this is happening automatically when that is being processed. And if you don't want to see all of this, you can always hide it when you click on this little funnel. Yep. So here in my demo, yeah, I should like to show everything that's doing. But if you're just only wanting to see certain information as an admin or a security analyst, you can limit these results. Let me go. I want to go ahead and drop down because this is really what it's all about here. Is this response workflow? Let me go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to keep visiting this as we work through the incident. And while I do so, I'm also going to tee up here where it says show the response task. So this goes back here, when I asked originally, what is the way that we address a security, incident that could happen? And again, ServiceNow driving that standardized response process. So, hey, something malicious happened, an event happened, or an email or whatever. What are all the steps that we want to take to make sure we're okay here? And that's what I'm going to walk through you today. And again, this response workflow I'm showing you today, it's a canned out of the box one. These are meant, they're good starting points, and they could be modified and added to. That's their purpose, to kind of align with your guys' business processes. So I'll be showing you that here as we work through it today. So the very first task, so I'm under response task, and I also know when you respond to something like this, there could be different people within your organization or different departments that maybe need to get involved, okay? So just know that you can have these different tasks be assigned to different personnel or different people, and they won't necessarily see the overlying incident if you don't want them to, but they'll just see the one thing that they're supposed to do in their task. So here, first question in my response workflow, acknowledge the user submission and ask if they interacted with the email. Okay, you forwarded it to me. Did you do anything? Are you like my old man who clicks on every single scam there is on the internet? Oh my gosh. I need to get Disney Circle for him because it's getting bad just for his at home. But anyways, acknowledge user submission, ask if they interacted with the email. So earlier when I typed and forwarded this up and I made this available here in my description, you see in the email body, my end user, user one, typed in, I clicked a bunch of these URLs and my computer's freaking out now. I'm like, okay, well, I say it's safe to assume that this end user, yes, they did do this. Okay, they clicked on the URLs and the machines are freaking out. I'm going to right click and refresh that list, and you'll see now when I do so, and I'm going to go over on the top right. And this is just to show you how the flow works, right? I mean, if you're using this tool in production, you're not going to be babysitting this workflow. You're just going to be working the tasks as they happen. So the next task that happens, does email have threat indicators? Oh, I don't know. I mean, when this came in, I see a bunch of domains that were inside of this particular email. Let me show you. So I'm going to click here where it says show IOC, and this is called indicators of compromise. So essentially what happened here is when I sent that email here, when I forwarded it, it had a ton of URLs inside of here, right? And ServiceNow scraped them all. So all this data, these IPs, these domains, it put them in as indicators of compromise, and then it went to virus total and TrueStar. Those are what I'm using in my demo as far as vendors to do threat lookups, okay? And that's this tab right here. So threat lookup results. So this is coming back here, and you'll see these are the different URLs that it parsed through. And there's IPs here, there's domains, and I see that virus total is coming back saying that these are malicious, okay? And again, we're going to have some more webinars in the future if this really interests you, and we're going to do some more in depth, specifically probably around TrueStar. But I got virus total in here today. So looking back to my response task, how am I dealing with this? Okay, does the email have threat indicators? Yeah, it had a lot. So I'm going to safely go ahead and say yes. Okay, I'm going to refresh this list. Now again, when I do so, my workflow is going to move on. Submit an attachment to the malware sandbox, or submit an attachment to the malware sandbox and review the results. Sure. In my environment, I don't have a sandbox currently running, but maybe you guys are using like an advanced threat protection tool where you can detonate a threat, right? There could be a step here that you'd want to do if there was an attachment on this particular phishing exercise as well, if you wanted to detonate. For the sake of this demo and exercise, I'm just going to go ahead and say, yep, I did that. I'm going to kind of skip over it, but just know that could be part of your process. And is that manually done? Maybe we could automate that and just have it automatically send that to, your detonation device if we haven't done so already. I hit yes, and we'll move it right along. Okay. So I branched out a couple tasks here. Yeah, let's look at here. Are there related incidents for this threat? Oh, maybe. When you see here this tab, email search, and this is part of the workflow that's kind of available out of the box. So let me show you this on how we would be able to use this integration. So again, the question is, are there related incidents for this threat? Okay, so that's one thing. And then also search for mail from the same sender, okay, and matching subject line as an option. So let's do this first thing. Let's search for the email and see if anyone else in my environment has received an email, from with the subject line or from the sender. So I'm under this email search section. I'm going to go ahead and drill inside of here, and I'm going to make a new search criteria. And what's really nice about this, right? And a lot of times when I show this out, like, well, Pat, yeah, I can write a PowerShell script and be able to do this myself. Yeah, absolutely, you could. But the idea here is, this is a search then that's being done in querying an Exchange server on premise, and it's getting an answer to the security analyst is to say, is this a one-off or is this hitting a lot of our personnel right now? And if it is, well, then you know what? I need to get my Exchange team involved, and then they're going to do some cleanup there if I needed to. Now, we could even take it steps further and automate and have it delete if you wanted to, and I'll show you that. But just different options that you would have. All right, and I'm sorry, I should have copied this here. Needs some advice. That was the subject. So click new, subject, paste that in, and submit. Okay. Now I could add in multiple operators here. And notice that the operator here says and. So you could keep adding things in, like, okay, look for this and this or this, etc. I'm just going to go ahead and search for that. All right. And if the demo gods are with me, what's going to happen here is, let me pop open my PowerPoint. I'm doing a search from ServiceNow, and I have this mid-service or mid-server on-prem in my environment. And it's going ahead and it's querying my Exchange server, and it's saying, hey, are there other emails in here that are called, what I search for? Need some advice. So email results here. Yeah, there are. So, in my environment, there are 9 emails on my Exchange that had this query. Okay. So let's go back here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at this incident. Search mail from the same sender and matching subject line. Yeah, I did that, right? I did a search and I see there were 9 emails in the system with the subject, need some advice, right? Now at this point, maybe this gets assigned to someone from my Exchange team, my email team, etc., and they could take action here to remediate this. Okay. Now you'll also notice here, I'm gonna go back under this email search here. You're gonna notice there's an option here delete from the email server. If I wanted to, I could. Essentially, what's going to happen is the mid server is going to talk to Exchange and delete the emails that had that parameter that I had specified. Okay, you don't have to do that, but that's the higher maturity stuff. When I go over to here, and when I was talking about some of this closed loop remediation and the higher levels of security, or I'm sorry, automation. Okay, some places will never get to this level of automation. I think that's fine, but the idea is that you at least assign the tasks to the people that need to then address it, and don't just flood them with stuff. Be able to make an intelligent decision to know, yeah, other machines had this particular email. I'm going to alert my admin team, or no, only one person. It was a one-off. It was we got it contained, but I'm not going to get a bunch of people involved at this time. So one of the other tasks that were here, because it's splitted, right? There was multiple tasks that kind of got started. One of the other ones here was asking, are there related incidents for this threat? Okay. Well, if you remembered in the beginning, when I was showing these indicators of compromise and the threat lookup results, I brought in all of these different observables, okay? All these different observables that are available and were brought in. Okay, and then the threat lookups happened, and it came back saying, "Oh yeah, these are malicious." Okay. Well, when I click on these observables, I'm starting to see here the incident count is 31. So I got 31 other incidents inside of ServiceNow, my response process system, saying there's 31 other incidents that have this exact observable, this domain, or this IP, or whatever it would be that we scraped up. Okay, and I can drill into those incidents and start looking into them more. Okay, so that can be helpful as well if you need to do some correlation to figure out what else is going on. Like, yep, I see. And it makes sense because this is my demo, so I keep forwarding the same email over, and that's why you see that. But yeah, that can be part of your response process. Now, looking at the rest of this, I think at this time it's kind of like, yeah, I get how the workflow, I get how that process works. Just as an idea, does the event require company-wide notification? Maybe. You could let people know, hey, we're being targeted here. If you see someone asking for something, be extra on the lookout for something that's maybe your organization is being targeted by something. Tasks, right? Deleting those phishing emails, using automation. Those are those higher levels of automation that I talked about. Like, hey, well, I did the search. I could just have it deleted if I wanted. Should a playbook be triggered? Okay, yeah, think about this. Should a malware playbook be triggered? On this one, probably. I only got so much time in this webinar, but I know that this user, they clicked all those freaking links, right? I saw it right from their email. So, do you guys use an antivirus tool that has the ability to maybe put the firewall on and block all in and outbound connections? And while you're at it, go ahead and block USB and basically put the shield up. And that could now be a standardized process. So yeah, this actually does need to be locked down so I don't infect other machines on the network until I figure out what's going on. We can quarantine, and that's again where you could just make a task telling somebody to quarantine the machine if you got a security tool that could do that, or I got the machine's name or the user one, and I could correlate what their computer name was, and then I could quarantine that machine and talk to that security tool as well. So all ideas, all things that you can do within the platform, and it's just all about that standardized response process. All right, good question. So real quick, what release am I currently on? This is on the London release. So this the instance I've been working on has been in the London, and this is a workflow that's available inside of the London. It is for Exchange 2016 today. Having this type of a process work on O365 is coming here. I'm being told very shortly in the next quarter. All right, another question around like service level agreements. For each of these different tasks, or incidents, being able to assign an SLA. Yeah, absolutely, you can do that, and then you could also report report against it as well. So if you wanted to say, hey, our policy is an SLA for a phishing type related incident is to respond within 8 hours or whatever that would be, yeah, absolutely. You can have SLAs that would be defined and put inside of the process. And a lot of times we'll trigger based off of category of the incident as well. And then also, let me scroll up real quick to show. The business impact can also be something that you could use, for your SLAs. So an incident that is going to be a higher impact to the business could have a lower SLA value. Good question. Thank you for that. Oh, is fish spam a mailbox? Oh, good question. Yeah. So when I was showing this up here, let me pop open. So fish at itspartnersdemo.com. What that is that was just a mailbox. It was a mailbox that I created on Exchange. And essentially what I did is on the Exchange is I then made a rule that just auto forwarded anything it received and set it up to ServiceNow. Okay. So the next thing people say is like, okay, Pat, if I email this, would it then kick it up to your ServiceNow instance? Yeah, actually would. It would go ahead and scrape that particular email until I stop my Exchange server at least. But yes, yep, that's what we would do. It's just forwarding to ServiceNow with a friendly name. Okay, good question. Logarithm supported in the correlation on SIM.
Okay. Yep, there is a connector for logarithm.
Oh, good, cool. So yes, there is a connector for logarithm. This list here, it's not every one. When I was showing this here, pop over real quick. This isn't every integration. It's just a good sampling. But thank you, Chris. Yep, logarithm is on that as well. Now the last part here, I just wanted to show another way to do this. Okay, and this is new in the London release. So I got to remember incident 59. Okay, inside of my ServiceNow console, you're going to see, and this needs to be loaded up for those that maybe have this module today loaded up and are playing with it in dev or in production. It is installed through your Hi, so you log into your Hi instance and request this module, but it's going to show up here. ServiceNow, and it's hard to see, but it says new console is what that short ellipses around. You got your traditional console and then your new console. So here we go. Security incidents assigned to me. So here, as an example, I'm just going to show all incidents here. There we go. I'm going to sort it here by the created date. All right. So 59, you're like, oh, where'd 60 come in? That was the one when we first created or started this webinar here 21 minutes ago. It went ahead and created. I just didn't want you to wait a few minutes. Pretty much the same thing. But anyways, so here's 59. So let's take a peek here. So here's some of that initial form data here that I have available, right? My business impact, who it was assigned to. Look at here, pending tasks. I see there are 2, completed tasks 3. And here, playbook. The answer here is yes. So I do have a playbook. The playbook started with that workflow, and that was my phishing exercise. Phishing was set as the category because it received it from that email, and I've been responding in an automated manner through that playbook as I've worked this. So I'm going to go ahead and open the incident tab. And again, it's just another way to view the same data, right? Some people are like, yeah, I kind of like the look of this a little bit better, and that's great. That's why they made this. But look over here. So I got an overview. So this is where I've got my different work notes. So if there are multiple people that are working on this particular incident, this would show up. Remember earlier when I was looking like, hey, are there any similar incidents to this? So this is now listing all the similar incidents here. Here are my threat lookup results. And you can see those different engines that came back. As far as the observables and if they were malicious, and we see the R, we see some of our unknown, and so forth. My infected user was user 1. I don't have a configuration item on this one because it came from a user. Okay. Now maybe if you guys associated a user to a computer, sure, you could make a distinction there. But maybe a threat came in through an antivirus type tool. And if that was the case, I would know the name of the machine and I would identify the device as well. So just know that those configuration items can absolutely be populated. The Explore tab. Yeah, we'll look at this here in a little bit more as we start looking through this. Remember, when we first started, and when I emailed this here, I emailed it up. That's where I can also look here. Just another view of that data. View of the email. So here's the syntax of what was forwarded here, right? So body, same data, just a different way to present it. And then from here, I can actually, select criteria that I would want, and then see where it says search criteria. It populated. Whereas before I was kind of manually typing it in. Here I'm kind of clicking around, and it's populating these modules. And I could go ahead and do a run and search on my Exchange server, and back to this list here, right? And essentially, hey, here's your query. Mid server basically is sending a script for that query to query your Exchange box that was on prem. But let's look over here. I want to scroll up here and show the playbook here. Okay, so we've done a number of these as we work through, and you're going to notice here where it says like analysis, contain, eradicate, recover, review, right, and close. We followed the NIST framework. Okay, that's the way that the tool actually works out of the box. And then we kind of see as I worked through this playbook, and I'm going to review this here with you in a second. We were doing all these different steps. We were analyzing the data. We were containing the threat. We didn't eradicate. I stopped there because I didn't actually go ahead and delete the emails. That would be one of the next steps in the process. So let's look here. So submit an attachment to the malware sandbox. So when you remember this one, we kind of skipped over because it didn't have a detonation device. But in your environment, if you do, here is instructions on how to do this. Okay, so here it's showing me, hey, if it came in through ServiceNow, you can click on the incident up on the top where there's a pay-per-click, and then we could go ahead and download the files and detonate the files if you wanted to. Okay. Does the email have threat indicators? Well, I work in ServiceNow all the time, but what about somebody that was getting started, right, or didn't know how to figure this out? So does the email have threat indicators? So it's telling you how to do this. Go to Explore, under Incident Data, make sure that Observables is expanded. Okay, so I go to Incident Data, Explore, Observables. So now I can go over, Explore, Incident Data, and then what was it? Observables? Yeah. And now because I got that information, I can now make an intelligent response to this, yes or no. This has been saved already, but if it wasn't, I could edit this record and change my outcome if I wanted to. It's just because we did this previously. So yeah, just another interface. This is new in London, of the different steps that you'd want to take. Yeah, contain. Yep, and that's where we left off here, and we made some notes around this as well. What is a typical time frame from start to end for a phishing email? Also, is there a different workflow for false positive phishing emails reported? Oh, yeah, no, that's a good question. Let's tackle the later half of your question first. Is there a different workflow for a false positive? Okay, so in this example, did I close? I didn't close it. Cool. In this example, I acted, that this was malicious. But what if you looked at it and the investigation came back, I queried virus total, and it's like, no, this is all fine. It's not known as an issue. You will see here, does the email have threat indicators? And if I had answered no, I'm going to notify that end user, letting them know, hey, it's okay. This was actually a false positive, and then it would end in this example. But again, these can be modified and tweaked if there's different steps that you would like to take. But yeah, absolutely different. That's a good question. They definitely can have different processes, based on, investigation, because false positives happen all the time. Now, the other one here, what is a typical time frame from start to end for a phishing email? Yeah, this one's a really hard one. It's a great question, and it's a hard one because everyone's so different. And I know that's a bit of a cop out, but it really is. Realistically, I'm trying to. The answer is we want to get it done as soon as we can, right? But I mean, realistically, I mean, it's all about, how many other incidents that you have, working through this particular incident here. Hopefully I was able to show you, hey, if it's got your attention and you're working through the different processes, you could probably work through it and maybe, I don't know, we've been going for about 30 minutes, but then again, a lot of it's going to result on different members of your team then, especially if there was something like, hey, I need to delete something. Do you automatically do that? Maybe we're not ready, or if you're not ready yet, hey, then we have to get someone else involved, and then we put SLAs around that as well. Chris Russo, I think I heard you on mute for a second. If you wanted to
Yeah,
take a note.
Pat, if I can
Yeah.
expand on that a little bit, that's really one of the value adds you get with the platform is in-depth reporting over time, metrics, and trending. So you can actually see as you close these incidents how long they're taking your team to accomplish, any other indicators that are influencing those, like other work you have going on, and you can really identify which of your analysts is starting to excel ahead of your others. So you can continue to drive that forward using the analytics in the platform.
Well, hey, I appreciate everyone's time today. If again, thanks for your time and have a good rest of your day. See ya.